Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, or whatever time you decided to watch me. When my wife and I uh, got married, we were very young and didn't have enough money to move out on our own. So therefore, we had to move in with my grandmother until we could get out on our feet. Since then, we have now came a long way, and we have purchased our own home. This could have never happened if we never had the help that we did when we first got married. You might be asking why I decided to start with this story. Well, stated by Diane Yellen, the president and CEO for the National Low Income Housing Coalition, in a memo to Trump's transition team, it states that housing poverty is having to choose between paying your housing payment or paying for other necessities. This is why my wife and I weren't able to move out on our own, just because our income wasn't ready to make a house payment and all the other bills that we had to pay. In our area, most people don't see a problem with homelessness, and it's really became a invisible problem. Marquette stated something in her article that I read that was very surprising to me, that there is an individual in our school system here in Idaho Falls that is set up to deal with the homeless. Well, if there's somebody that is like their main role is to deal with homeless individuals, then why don't we hear more about it if somebody is constantly working on it? Marquette also talked about in her article about Rescue Mission, a local shelter here in Idaho Falls that counted 500 full beds in 2015. But that doesn't count for everybody that's homeless, or because there are individuals that end up couch surfing. They go from friend's house to distant family member's house until they just are no longer welcome there, and then they just move to the next house. As a family man, I am very concerned with the issues in our community. I've discovered if you choose to raise your children somewhere, you should be a responsible individual in that community. Being responsible meaning you stay on top of issues in your community. And I have done my research on this topic, and I'm confident that I have an adequate amount of knowledge to explain this to you, as I will explain to my children later. I will dive into the issues of homelessness, and we will end up discussing more about poverty housing, and I will introduce a solution and a local organization that's trying to help with this issue. Therefore, we first need to discuss more about poverty, housing, and homelessness. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, which is HHS, as I will refer to it later, the definition of homelessness is an individual who lacks housing, without permanent housing, or they may be classified as homeless if this person is doubled up. And doubled up is a term that is referred to an individual staying with a series of friends or family members with the stipulation that they have no choice in the matter. This is one of many different definitions for homelessness. Each department of the U.S., like Human Services, has a different definition that they use. The 500 beds that I that the rescue mission counted, that I mentioned earlier, isn't an accurate count of the homelessness in Idaho Falls, but it's a pretty good idea if that shelter is completely full, that there has to be more than just what's there. Poverty housing is not being able to afford housing or having to pick housing payments over essential items in life, like like choosing you have to make your house payment, but you don't get to go to the doctor and you're really sick. So that's one example of that. Poverty housing can lead to homelessness. Eventually, things might catch up to you and you might end up losing where you're living. And according to Marquette, an estimated of 75% of the homeless individuals in Idaho Falls are currently working. And if so many people of the homeless are working, why aren't they not homeless? Well, a lot of their jobs aren't full-time, or they're inadequately paying them, like they're only getting paid minimum wage. The problem of homelessness and poverty housing is one that we need to address, because a group is only as good as the weakest individual in that group. And if we start to work on making sure that we don't have any weak links, then our entire society will get better and grow. The whole group will improve. Habit of Humanity Idaho Falls area is a nonprofit organization founded to strike out poverty housing in the Idaho Falls area. This organization was incorporated into the area in 1994, and since they have built 26 new construction homes throughout the area. The homes that they built are low cost and usually come with no interest payments. And they serve low-income families between 25% to 50% of the median income. So that's the income range that you have to have in order to participate in the programs that they offer with this organization. This organization is a very good solution to the housing problem in our area, because they are building houses that low-income families can afford. This organization has even recently gained additional funding that will help them expand their operations into the Snake River Valley. And 100% of the profits that they gain from the restore that they operate go to covering their operational expenses. So this organization knows how to spend its money, and it's working to solve an issue that we have in our community. Therefore, so the problem that I have described has a solution. This organization could provide that solution. Just a simple stop into the restore and pick up something that you already are going to buy can help build somebody else a house that they could afford. And the restore is open from 10 to 6, and it's located at 1954 North Yellowstone Highway, Idaho Falls. And if you're feeling even more inclined to help out with this issue, you could even volunteer to work on a house that they're building right now, which you can request more information about that on their website at http://www.idahofallshabit.org/. And I hope everybody has a great rest of their time. Thank you for listening to me.